Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today, with it being release day, we're looking at the top 10 most expensive cards from Innistrad Crimson Vow. Starting off the list, we have Cemetery Prowler. This 3-drop Vigilant Wolf says whenever it ETBs or attacks, exile a card from the graveyard, and spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards exiled with Cemetery Prowler. Now this card will really benefit those decks that have the crossover card types. If you have a deck filled with artifact creatures or enchantment creatures, then if that certain card exiled is one of those dual type cards, then future cards you're playing sharing a type with that card will cost 2 cheaper to cast, which is huge. Again, as is a theme in these Innistrad sets, this is another really strong 3 mana value casting cost card, which asks the question, is green the strongest colour going in Magic?
I think you might be onto something here.
A strong new card from Crimson Vow, already steadily declining in estimated value. I definitely expect this to be a $4 or $5 card by the end of the month. Before we get on to number 9, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. It's completely free to do, and it helps our channel grow and grow as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. And I also promised a Crimson Vow collector booster box if we got 100 likes on the set booster box, which we absolutely smashed, so expect that video very, very soon. For the next most expensive card, we have Chandra Dressed to Kill. This popular Planeswalkers +1 says to add a mountain, with Chandra doing 1 damage to target creature or Planeswalker. Its other +1 says to exile the top card of your library. If it's red, you may cast it this turn. And the big ultimate -7 says to exile the top 5 cards of your library, being able to cast red spells from among them this turn. Whenever you cast a red spell, this emblem deals X damage to any target, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. And this is, unsurprisingly, the 17th different Chandra Planeswalker released in MTG history, which is mad. Compared to the other Chandras, this does really fall in the middle of the pack, and with most Chandras floating with that $1 to $2 range, with exceptions like Chandra Ablaze and Awakened Inferno that sit towards $10, I think this will really drop off massively in the weeks and months of release. Still, it could prove to work well with those spell-slinging decks and enchantment damage doublers or triplers. So as it does happen many a time, I could be proven very wrong with that one.
You're an idiot. You're wrong.
Next on the list we have Hullbreaker Horror. And whenever you cast a spell, you choose up to one of these options. Return a target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you're running any sort of control or spell slinging deck, you're going to be playing plenty of those cheap instants or sorceries, triggering Hullbreaker plenty of times and potentially returning your opponent's entire board to their hand. Almost as a group tribe, Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses and Serpents are a set of creatures that often really well sync up together, so there are plenty of options to have this as a card in the 99 of some of those decks. As for the price, this is one that took a huge spike during pre-release due to interest and potential popularity, but this is also just a rare and not mythic rare, so expect much more of these to be pulled in packs and it's soon to dip right down to about a $4 card. We've got more cemetery action, this time with Gatekeeper. This first strike 2/1 vampire exiles a card from a graveyard when it ETBs, and whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell, if it shares a card type with exiled card, Cemetery Gatekeeper deals 2 damage to that player. This is a really versatile card, especially in Commander where you have 3 opponents. Have it ETB and exile a creature, then ping your opponents whenever they cast a creature. Maybe you have opponents that are enchantment heavy, exile an enchantment and watch their world crumble. This would also work so well in those commanders that already punish opponents for casting things like Rurik Thar. Again, it's red, so if you've got those damage doublers or triplers, you're laughing all the way to the victory. And as for the price, it's already been taking a slow but steady decline since its preview, so in a few months I think we'll be looking at a $2 to $3 card. Just missing out on the top half, we have Toxrill the Corrosive. This big slug horror says at the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. And when a creature you don't control dies, create a 1/1 slug creature token, with that additional card draw ability. This Rakdos creature is one that could actually be very, very fun as a commander. Straight away you've got plenty of new cards that really sync up well with Toxrill, as well as classic black staples like Massacre Worm and others to clear that opposition board and give you a wide worm army. With it being a mythic rare and offering lots in the way of usability, I'd expect this to obviously drop upon release, but perhaps stabilise around the $6 to $7 range. Next up on this value list we have Sorin the Mirthless. This Planeswalker's +1 says look at the top card of your library, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you do, lose life equal to its mana value. The -2 creates you a 2/3 vampire creature token with flying and lifelink, with that ultimate -7 dealing 13 damage to any target and gaining you 13 life. Whether it's going in any of those popular vampire tribal builds with that -2 ability, or generally just go in the 99 of any black loving commander, this is a card that could prove very popular, essentially with that +1 extra card draw option attached to it. This is the 8th Sorin released since the original Sorin Lord of Innistrad was released in early 2012, and quite possibly one of my favourite Sorin cards out there, with my personal favourite though being Sorin Markov. Who doesn't love immediately making someone's life total -10 in a game of Commander? Based on the other Sorins and potential usage, I wouldn't be surprised if this stayed around the $6 to $7 range for a while. Finally, let's have a quick look at all of those alternate arts with Sorin, ranging from the showcase arts even to the special Dracula art. They really are fantastic. Moving on to more wolf action, we've got Averbrook Caretaker. Near the $15 range, this hexproof human werewolf says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. When it transforms, it gives your other permanents hexproof, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This card absolutely has a home right in all of those werewolf tribal decks on the go, especially with the fresh new Tovalar commander from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Getting Averbrook to Hollowhenge Huntmaster and giving all of your permanents hexproof in any variant of MTG is absolutely huge. Again, another card that has that new price hype. This is another one of those that, depending on the level of play early on, will more likely fall to a $4 to $5 card. Averbrook is a very fun card and one that will have a home in my Tovalar deck that I'm desperate to turn from budget deck tech to actual paper build. For the third most valuable Crimson Vow card, we have Manaform Hellkite. This flying 4/4 dragon says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX red dragon illusion creature token with flying and haste, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell, exiling that token at the beginning of the next end step. This will prove an incredibly popular card, with it being effective in not only decks like Feather, Kaikar, Kess and plenty more, but also plenty of those dragon tribal decks where this card would absolutely slot into them super easy. And if you're running any sort of Izzet decks, just pack in those extra turns, get even more opportunity to get some hasty dragons and have a quicker route to get the win. Guessing a price for this one is tricky, as with almost any card since reveal, its price has steadily been declining, but with its viability in many different formats, I really think this could be one that could hold out around the $15 range if it does have a big spike in popularity. Runner up and the second most valuable card, we have Necro Duality. This enchantment says whenever a non-token zombie ETBs under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. This zombie tribal loving card is insane. Straight off the bat, there are dozens and dozens of zombie cards that come to mind that you just love to have a second copy of whenever they hit the field. This card will also play off so well with cards like Reflection of Litjara and Cleaver Scarb that by ETB or sacrifice will create you even more zombies. As someone that wants to build a zombie tribal deck myself, I'd go as far to say as this is my favourite new card from Crimson Vow. As for price, since its reveal, it has been bobbing up and down, but my guess, with it being mythic in rarity and the obvious potential upgrade to the insanely new popular Wilhelt Commander Precon, I can see this stabilising around the $10 range eventually. But then again, with the newly announced double feature set, it's hard to tell if these semi-reprints will affect the value or not. And for the most valuable card from Crimson Vow, we have Cultivator Colossus. This trampling plant beast's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control, and when it ETBs, you may put a land from your hand onto the field tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. This is a beast of a card that straight away would go in the 99 of all of those land-loving commanders such as Omnath, Tatiova and plenty more. Although it's got a really high mana value, those land-loving decks often have so much ramp that getting this out early in a game of Commander isn't that unrealistic. In recent years we've had a few cards that have power toughness equal to lands, but Cultivator Colossus offers so much more with that extra ETB ramping potential. If you've got those ways to blink it onto the field or even create copies of it as it is non-legendary, you're really going to be at a strong chance to ramp like crazy, draw a boatload of cards and get in a really good position to win the game. Finally, looking at its price, it's taken another slow but steady fall like Manaform Hellkite, but again, with the potential playability of this card, I wouldn't be surprised to see it land around the $15 range in the months to come. I really can't wait to see how wrong I am at all of these future price predictions. There we have it, that is the list. Thanks for watching and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.